I am not, nor have I ever been, an exercise person. However, during the fall of my senior year here at Western, my boyfriend had dumped me, and I was committed to looking good when I saw him a winter break. Plus, my friend Zoe had keys to the workout room we could access after hours, used to be located under Val Sets. We worked in the residence halls where she was an area coordinator. So that fall, and that fall only, I exercised. Several nights a week, Zoe and I would rock out, catch up, and get our sweat on. But then one night, our workout was interrupted by an interloper, a sophomore. This friend named Beck that she had invited was an athlete, and she knew stuff about exercise. I was not pleased. This was my Zoe time. I didn't want some stranger, some sophomore barging in, and I didn't want to worry about how silly I looked in my exercise shorts. Plus, she was surly and standoffish and grumpy. Okay, she didn't seem to like me, and back then, I was all about people liking me. So after a couple of weeks of putting up with this intruder, Zoe got a page and needed to rush back to Heritage. A pager is a device we used to use before cell phones to contact one another. So I started to vacate my elliptical and follow her out, and she said, "No, it's fine. You guys stay. Just lock up when you're done." What? I didn't want her leaving me here alone with her. And out she went. Much to my amazement, left to our own devices, we did talk, laugh, exercise, have a good time, and enjoy ourselves. Fast forward a month, the three of us continued hanging out, exercising, watching Friends together, and Zoe was leaving for a road trip. So Beck and I decided to make her something called a mixtape. A mixtape is a labor of love. It's like a playlist, but it takes hours and dedication and dexterity and a lot of skill to master. So Beck and I gathered in my apartment in Butler, and I put on a song and asked her to waltz with me. She said she didn't know how, so I had her stand up and taught her, and while we danced, the craziest thing happened. Full body toe-up convulsions. We call them butterflies, which sounds really gentle. And I was sure she could see, hear, feel what was happening to me. What was happening to me? I mean, you guys know what was happening to me because it's not called the straight monologues. So, of course, what was happening to me is that I was falling for her. So I put an end to that real quick. We continued to talk and make the mixtape and dance late into the night and continued growing our friendship over the coming days and weeks. A few months later, after winter break, where I saw my ex and I looked good, and I stopped exercising, we continued, though, being friends, and that friendship progressed, and we kissed for the first time, which was like the world opened up, and big band music, and fireworks, and like the movies. And so we're heading to our morning class together, and in all seriousness, I turned to her, and I'm like, what does this mean? What are we to each other? And she responded with a very matter-of-fact, I don't know. Let's decide at lunch. Wait a minute. The fate of what we would be to one another was going to be decided at Val Sets over Wild Willie white bean chili? What was I going to wear? As we sat there with our trays, I was certain everyone around us could tell we had just made out. That feeling that I was sure everyone knew we were together rarely subsided. A few months later, after spending the night together, I looked over at her in the wee hours of the morning and said, "But I don't feel gay." Not even sure exactly what that would feel like, just that I was being sure that I felt true to myself, my heart, my soul, what I wanted. She's kind of blunt. She gazed back up at me and she said, "Well, you aren't acting real friggin' hetero." Okay. Within 10 days of our first kiss, she had told her mom. By contrast, it took me 2.5 years to tell mine. Granted, mine lives 2,000 miles away, but I knew that my parents would not welcome the news that I had fallen in love with a woman, and they wouldn't understand why, if I'm bisexual, I wouldn't choose to be with a man. Thankfully, my family of choice and the friends I surrounded myself with made it easier to be honest with them. Within a couple of weeks, I told a few people, and no one freaked out or burst into flames or turned their backs on me or any of the other things that I secretly feared. We didn't have Facebook back then, so I took my time rolling out the news to my whole circle. It took several years to tell some friends I'd known in high school or growing up with. Even still, people I thought might have the hardest time with it sometimes surprised me with their responses. And while I can't say that I've never had a negative response coming out to someone, that has been the rare exception. Coming out to myself was the most important first step. I still come out to others on a regular basis. When I write next of kin on forms at a new office, or have to explain, no, she isn't my sister, or that we only need one bed for this night's stay in our hotel room, or when I correct people when they assume that married means I have a husband. And yet, coming out matters. And here's why. I believe that when we are truthful, and brave about the circumstances of our own lives, we give others permission to do the same. In 1996, this was not a welcoming campus to safely share a kiss before class. So instead, we'd wink and know that that meant, here's where I'd kiss you. That was many apartments, jobs, cities, 3 dogs, a terminal illness. And 21 years ago, we're still together. And I am still not an exercise person. We were first married legally in the state of Oregon in 2004. The people then voted and annulled that marriage in 2005. We have been domestic partnered and married again since then, and I think this will stick. We're hoping. And tonight, I'm speaking where it all began, at Western's campus, at their second presentation of the Coming Out Monologues. After their first queer alumni event. What a long way we've